why we can need this tool, because it helps us to, working with discrete rasters are much more comfortable than working with continuous, because we can work with attributes, and we can create new attributes, and we can calculate the area of each uh, raster class, etc. Anyway, you will understand it during the tutorial. So zone reclassification is can be both included into zonal and global types of operations. So some of the most common reasons for reclassification are to replace values based on a new information, to group certain values together. For instance, pixels with values from 1 to 6.5, right? To reclassify values to a common scale, and to set specific values to no data, or to assign a value to cells with no data. So you should remember that we will talk also on the following slide, that no data, pixel with no data, is also a pixel which is considered by ArcGIS. So you should distinguish between pixel which has zero value, right, and pixel which has no data value. So no data, it means that it doesn't contain any kind of information, because zero is also zero value is also information, it's a number. But and ArcGIS also takes into account no data, and the reclassification to set specific values to no data. We're using reclassification. You can set specific values to no data, or to assign a value to cells with no data. There are several approaches to reclassify your data: by individual values, by ranges, by intervals or area, or through an alternative value. You can reclassify the continuous Euclidean distance raster to a discrete raster also. So applications of the raster operations can be altering raster resolution, density analysis, hydrological analysis, image classification, generalization, surface analysis, surface generation, and reclassifying from continuous to discrete, and etc, etc, etc. So applications of raster operations are very broad and deep. So, and the last one, I want to talk about the mask and extent of a raster image. So it's not kind of an operation, but you should know that during working with rasters, you should always take into account mask and extent of a raster image, of input raster image. For instance, your input of your rasters extent should have the similar extent and mask, actually, because it will also influence to the output. And you can also in ArcGIS can set extent and a mask of your output raster. So what is the difference between them? So you can see here, I think you visited galleries and museums not once in your life, and you notice that besides an image there is a there is a frame of the painting. For instance, Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting called Mona Lisa, and except the painting itself, right? So the extent of a frame is the extent of a map. We can take as an example, if you're comparing paintings or with the maps, while the extent of a painting itself without the frame, right, is the same as mask of a map. So what is the difference? You should take into consideration that what you see on a map, actually on the ArcGIS view window, is a mask of a map, because it contains pixels with values, and ArcGIS gives a certain color to each pixel value in order to the user can see it, while it doesn't always give color to the extent which can have no pixels at all or can have pixels with no data. So pixels with no data can be given manually a color in ArcGIS, and we'll talk about it during the tutorial. But the pixels with no data doesn't have any value, but still is used during the operations of raster operations. And you should always take into account extent and mask of your raster image, with which you are going to work with, either with extent or with the mask. And you can set it manually with the environments toolset. And also you should again understand that extent except the pixel values also contain no pixels or often pixels with no data values. So this is the end of the lecture which belongs to raster operations. And let's start with tutorial 6, raster operations. And during the practice you will understand more about the application and concept of the four types of raster operations: local, focal, zonal, and global.